Κυρία Σούζη Κωνσταντινίδης, είμαστε εδώ μαζί σας. Είσαστε μέλος της Εθνικής Κυπριακής Ομοσπονδίας του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου και είμαστε για άλλη μια χρονιά εδώ πέρα, έξω από την Βουλή. Για ποιο λόγο?
Ναι, είναι όπως ξέρεις Δημήτρα, είναι 42 χρόνια τον καιρό που η Τουρκία έκανε εισβολή και κατοχή της Κύπρου. Το πιο σημαντικό αυτή τη στιγμή είναι που είμαστε εδώ με την οργάνωση των συγγενών, των αγνοουμένων, που είναι φυσικά τόσα χρόνια που γυρεύουν τους δικούς τους, που είναι ένα από τα πιο ψυχολογικά δύσκολα πράγματα. Γιατί πολλές φορές αν χάσεις κάποιον και πεθάνει, τουλάχιστον κλείνει η πόρτα, ας πούμε. Ψυχολογικά δεν μπορούν ποτέ να την κλείσουν γιατί ακόμα έχουν ελπίδες. Ασφαλώς πολύ δυστυχώς, τώρα οι πολύ μεγάλοι, ας πούμε τώρα θα πεθάνανε. Αλλά πάλι γυρεύοντας τα για να πούνε, να ησυχάσουν. Είναι δύσκολο. Μετά από αυτή την πορεία εδώ, όχι πορεία, φυσικά εκδήλωση εδώ, θα πάμε όλοι μαζί μέσα στην Βουλή που θα έχουμε συνάντηση με τους βουλευτές, τους πιο σημαντικούς. Εκείνοι που έχουν πολλούς Κυπραίους, αλλά και εκείνοι που δεν έχουν. Φυσικά που υποστηρίζουν την Κύπρο. Φυσικά θέλω να τους πιέσουμε να συνεχίσουμε να πολεμήσουμε για την ελευθερία της. Ή τουλάχιστον μια λύση που θα μπορούμε να την πούμε τη λέξη, να τη χωνέψουμε. Γιατί και εμείς εδώ που είμαστε εδώ, και άλλοι που σαν εμάς που γεννηθήκαμε εδώ, υποστηρίζουμε να έχουμε την Κύπρο μας πίσω πάλι. Γιατί είναι δύσκολο. Είναι τόσος κόσμος που ήρθανε. Εγώ ήμουν υπεύθυνη στο Δημαρχείο του Haringey στο 1974 όταν ήρθανε και είχαμε άλλους 17.000 που ήρθαν ως πρόσφυγες με τα ρούχα που στεκόντουσαν μέσα όταν τους φέρανε από τις βάσεις και άλλα. Μεγάλες δυσκολίες που για 42 χρόνια ακόμα αντέχουμε. Το Σαββάτο, 16 του μηνός, δεν μπορούσαμε να βρούμε και τον τόπο, θα είναι μια πορεία από την τουρκική πρεσβεία στο Belgrave Square. Θα περπατήσουμε, θα μας συνοδέψουν στον δρόμο. Θα πάμε περπατητή από το Piccadilly, που έχει πολλή κίνηση. Θα κατεβούμε στο Haymarket, γύρω στο Eros πριν να κατεβούμε εκεί και θα πάμε στο Trafalgar Square. Άλλες χρονιές έκαναν ομιλίες εκεί. Αυτή τη φορά είπανε να βρουν κάθε οργάνωση να βρει σαν τόπο. Marble Arch, Hyde Park Corner, Oxford Street και να δίνουν φυλάδια και μετά θα πάνε όλοι στο Belgrave Square. Και από εκεί, Χρυσά μου, εμείς για χρόνια τώρα έχουμε, οι γυναίκες φέρνουν μαζί τους στεφάνι που συλλαβίζει η Κύπρο με τα λουλούδια και θα περπατήσουμε μέχρι το κενοτάφιο που θα καταθέσουμε και αφήνουμε μήνυμα εκεί. Λέμε παραδείγματος χάρη, οι Κύπροι πολεμήσαν και στον πρώτο και στον δεύτερο παγκόσμιο πόλεμο, όχι μόνο στρατιώτες από εδώ, αλλά και την Κύπρο, ως ελεύθεροι φυσικά. Και άλλοι θα πάνε στο 10 Downing Street, θα βάλουν υπόμνημα εκεί που πάλι λένε «Wow, θα είναι καινούρια πρωθυπουργός, δεν είναι τώρα», για να πούμε πάλι τον πόνο μας και φυσικά πως θέλουμε μια λύση. Αυτός είναι ο σκοπός.
Ποια είναι τα τιμόμενα πρόσωπα φέτος? Ποια είναι τα πρόσωπα που τιμάμε φέτος εδώ μαζί μας? Ποιοι είναι εδώ μαζί?
Είναι βουλευτές, αγάπη μου. Εκείνοι που θα έρθουν. Σαν εκεί σπίτι πιο νωρίς, είναι από τα δημαρχία που έχουν τους πιο πολλούς Κύπριους. Γιατί οι πιο πολλοί Κύπροι είναι στο Haringey, στο Enfield, στο Barnet. Είναι περίπου 150.000 σύνολα, εκείνα τα τρία δημαρχία φυσικά. Και έτσι είπαμε, εκείνοι που θα έρθουν, έχουμε τη λίστα εδώ, μπορεί να την κοιτάξετε, γιατί την ποιοι είναι εδώ απόψε. Θα είναι λίγο δύσκολο, γιατί νομίζω έχουν ψήφος απόψε. Αλλά πάντως τους ζητάμε να βγουν από εκεί, να χαιρετήσουν, την Επιτροπή εδώ. Έχουμε μέλη και από την Ομοσπονδία που θα έρθουν σε λίγο. Έχει πολλή κίνηση, γι' αυτό αργήσανε λιγάκι, αλλά θα είναι εδώ.
Και ο καιρός δεν βοηθάει, αλλά παρόλα αυτά επιμένουν.
Τυχώς άνοιξε. Τόσο μαζιπήθηκε.
Ποιο είναι το μήνυμα που θέλετε να δώσετε φέτος για άλλη μια φορά?
Το μήνυμα είναι πρέπει να συνεχίσουμε τη μάχη για να κρατήσουμε τον πόλεμο. Όταν κοιτάζετε, ο παππούς μου που ήταν Έλληνας, εκείνος πέθανε στον πρώτο παγκόσμιο πόλεμο. Ακόμα θυμόμαστε και εορτάζουμε, αλλά θυμόμαστε τον πρώτο, ήταν από 100 χρόνια. Πες, ας πούμε, να μην πούμε κουραστήκαμε 42 χρόνια, τέλειωσε. Όχι, να επιμένουμε να βρούμε το δίκαιο. Αυτό είναι το δίκαιο. Το δίκαιο κάτω τα Ηνωμένα Έθνη, κάτω την Ευρώπη φυσικά, και τι είναι το σωστό. Αυτό είναι το σωστό. Γίνεται ένα κράτος, δεν είναι μοιρασμένο και έτσι μικρό κράτος και ακόμα να μην μας βοηθάει κανένας. Τούτοι πρέπει να μας βοηθήσουν. Ήσαν εγγυητές. Και ήταν και η Ελλάδα και η Τουρκία και η Βρετανία. Και είναι εγγυητές. Πρέπει να κάνουν κάτι. Ασφαλώς έχουν αρκετά προβλήματα, αλλά να μην μας ξεχάσουν.
Πολύ ωραία. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Κυρία Γεωργία, ποιος είναι ο λόγος σήμερα που βρεθήκατε εδώ σε αυτό το συλλαλητήριο?
Ήρθαμε για την εκδήλωση των συγγενών αγνοουμένων, γι' αυτό. Γιατί θέλουμε να ξέρουμε τι έχουν γίνει οι δικοί μας, τα αδέλφια μας, οι οικογένειες που έχουν γενικά αγνοουμένους. Αυτός είναι ο κυρίως λόγος. Γιατί 40 χρόνια, 43 είναι πολλά να περιμένουμε. Αυτό.
Είσαστε κάθε χρονιά εδώ πέρα και θέλετε να περάσετε το μήνυμά σας. Τι ελπίζετε φέτος αυτή η φορά?
Ελπίζουμε αυτή η φορά να είναι τελευταία. Γιατί η συνέχεια είναι άγχος να είσαι εδώ. Σκέφτεσαι συνέχεια αυτούς τους ανθρώπους. Γι' αυτόν.
Και βέβαια σας δίνουν κουράγιο και όλοι όσοι βρίσκονται στην ίδια θέση με εσάς και πολεμάνε και εκείνοι.
Είναι κρίμα. Γιατί τόσες χιλιάδες που είναι αγνοούμενοι, είναι μετρημένοι αυτοί που έρχονται. Είναι κρίμα. Είναι κρίμα γιατί δεν έρχονται όλες οι οικογένειες.
Γιατί νομίζετε ότι δεν έρχονται, κάθε χρόνο λιγοστεύουν?
Γιατί νιώθουν ότι δεν γίνεται τίποτε, αλλά πρέπει να το πολεμάς. Πρέπει να το πολεμάς.
Κάποτε θα εισακουστεί και κάποια λύση μπορεί να βρεθεί, έτσι?
Ναι, εύχομαι να γίνει αυτό μια ημέρα. Ναι.
Σας ευχόμαστε τα καλύτερα με όλη την καρδιά μας. Καλή τύχη και το καλύτερο.
Ο αγώνας συνεχίζεται και θα συνεχίζεται στο τέλος που να βρεθούν όλοι οι αγνοούμενοι. Είναι 42 χρόνια που είναι αγνοούμενοι και συγγενείς και αδέρφια, το οποίο είναι πολύ βλαβερό για τους συγγενείς. Και πρέπει η κυβέρνηση κάτι να κάνει για να φανούν σύντομα οι αγνοούμενοι μας. Όχι μόνο οι Ελληνοκύπριοι, αλλά και οι Τουρκοκύπριοι. Να βρεθούν και να γίνει μια λύση του Κυπριακού, να γίνει ενότητα η Κύπρος μας. Αυτό είναι το μήνυμα και ελπίζω το μήνυμα να φτάσει κάπου. Ευχαριστώ. Να είστε καλά.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Είμαι από τον Άγιο Αμβρόσιο της Κερίνιας και αυτοί είναι οι αγνοούμενοι του Αγίου Αμβροσίου. Και δεν θα ξεχάσω και δεν θα συγχωρέσω τους εισβολέους που μας καταστρέψασαν και τώρα θέλουν όλη την Κύπρο. Και λυπούμε που οι συμπατριώτες μου σήμερα έπρεπε να ήταν όλη η πλατεία γεμάτη. Πού είναι οι Κύπροι που λένε ότι αγαπούν την Κύπρο? Τίποτε άλλο. Το παιδί αυτόν ήρθε από τον Northampton και εμείς είμαστε στο Λονδίνο, Southampton. Και εμείς είμαστε στο Λονδίνο και δεν ερχόμαστε. Τα ξεχάσαμε όλα.
Θέλετε να μας πείτε και εσείς την προσωπική σας ιστορία? Ήρθατε από το Southampton μέχρι εδώ για αυτό το συλλαλητήριο.
Μάλιστα, είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό να δώσουμε όλοι το παρόν μας εδώ κάθε χρόνο μέχρι να βρεθούν όλοι οι αγνοούμενοι μέχρι των τελευταίων, και είναι απαράδεκτο που η διεθνής κοινότητα και η Τουρκία δεν κάνουν πράξεις να βρεθούν πιο γρήγορα και ακόμα οι οικογένειες αυτών των αγνοουμένων να βασανίζονται, να μην ξέρουν τι γίνονται αυτοί. Και είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό όλοι μας, ειδικά τώρα που περνάμε δύσκολες εποχές στην Κύπρο και στην Ελλάδα, να δώσουμε τον παρελθόν μας εδώ για να δείξουμε ότι μας ενδιαφέρει η πατρίδα, η ιστορία μας και για το μέλλον μας να έχουμε μια επανενωμένη Κύπρος για να μπορούμε να πάμε μπροστά.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Τα καλύτερα σε ευχόμαστε. Mr. Meal, it's a great pleasure to have you here and support this fight we have every year. What is the reason for being here today? We understand that you're a great supporter of the Cypriot matter.
It's a very sad occasion. It's 42 years now of the illegal invasion and occupation of the island, but it's also a necessary thing. I mean, Cyprus is good friends of Britain, and unfortunately for the last 42 years, in my belief, we've let Cyprus down terribly, and we've allowed others to occupy illegally and refrain from information, particularly for the relatives of missing. And I think it's time for them to change and to remove themselves from an occupied part of the European Union. Part of our family. Even now, Britain is still in the European Union, and we have to say to Turkey, you are there, illegally occupying, and really causing upset throughout the nation of people who happen to live as refugees abroad. It's time to end this. and allow Cyprus to be reunited again and live as an independent country throughout the family of Europe. And I think there's no other solution but to do that. And if there's to be a solution on Cyprus itself, an overall solution to the end of hostilities and the present situation, there can be no solution until there is a realistic endeavour to see, to find out the whereabouts of the missing person, their relatives or remains, and settle all their account. Human rights and dignity is at the forefront of any freedom and democracy, and Cyprus is at the forefront of that in my mind and many of the parliamentarians in Britain.
What is that you hope we achieve today?
Well, we've got to remind the world, not just the Hellenic world, but also the British country, that we have a responsibility, all as citizens of the world, to sort out the illegal occupation of Cyprus and the return of property to the rightful owners and the removal of occupied troops and finding out and settle the problem of the missing people. Until that's reached, there can be no solution, not an honourable or a fair one. We have to keep working until we reach that objective.
Finally, your message to everyone here.
We will win, and when we win, it'll be very quick. It's as though one can't figure out why it didn't happen sooner, but we will win, that I'm sure.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with us.
Okay.
The progress on these key chapters will, in a large part, depend on Turkey's willingness to remove its army from the territory of the Republic of Cyprus and on its sincere engagement in the UN-facilitated process with actions and not just words. Over the last 42 years, the world has changed enormously, and the UK has played a positive role in defending and advancing the principles of justice, human rights, democratic values, and international law. The United Kingdom remains a crucial player in relation to Cyprus. Not only does the UK have historic treaty obligations under the guarantee, it also maintains military bases on the island and is Cyprus's partner in the Commonwealth, the United Nations, and at least for the time being, the European Union. UK and Cyprus relations are the strongest they have been. On behalf of all of us, I'd like to say that we are very grateful for the tangible support of our government during Cyprus's bailout negotiations and the MOU signed between Prime Minister David Cameron and President Anastasiades in January 2014 regarding the bases. And indeed, following the recent vote for Brexit in the EU referendum, and given the many shared policies at the EU level, Cyprus can also offer the UK invaluable support to help the UK negotiate the best possible deal with the EU. We now ask our government and our new Prime Minister to do more and to use the leverage and strategic relationship it has with Turkey to exert real pressure. Turkey holds the key to a solution, and at this crucial time in the negotiations, and with Turkey's recent desire to reset its foreign policy with Russia and Israel, now is the time for Turkey to do the same with Cyprus and engage positively and constructively towards a just and sustainable solution. Our government and our MPs have the power to make a difference in relation to Cyprus. This year, we ask you all to be even more vocal, because the talks currently underway represent a real opportunity for a breakthrough. If only Turkey would seize this opportunity and respond to the goodwill and positive spirit shown by the government of the Republic of Cyprus. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your welcome. I think that we are on the brink of a historic opportunity. I don't think that it is an exaggeration to say that the chances of an enduring settlement in Cyprus are better now than they have been at any time since the talks that led to the abortive referendums on the Annan Plan. That things have got to this stage is a tribute to the courage of the leaders, to both President Anastasiades and to Dr. Akancho, and to their respective negotiators, Mr. Mavroanis, my old friend and former opposite number in the EU Council of Ministers, and Mr. Nani from the Turkish Cypriot side. And the prize is an enormous one. An end to the division of the island, the last divided state in the European Union, a chance to rebuild those bonds of trust and of natural human exchange and relationship across communal barriers after more than 40 years in which we've seen the different communities have less and less contact. About the commitment of both leaders and about the enormous human as well as political prize that is there to be won if the negotiations succeed. Now, I'm not going to heighten the fact that a successful deal, if that is possible, is going to require some very difficult compromises on both sides. That is the nature of these things, as we in the UK know only too well from our experience in Northern Ireland. But I think that there is a real chance to create that bizonal, bicommunal federation in compliance with the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions and with equal rights for all that we have been wanting to see for so many years. The leaders are now starting to embark upon discussions of the really difficult issues. The nature of Cypriot sovereignty and the nature of the state. The questions of property and of territory. What you do about Morocco, what you do about Eðosan, and so on. About security guarantees. How can one provide reasonable arrangements so that each community feels that they can have confidence that this is a settlement that will endure and which will be sufficiently protected. Now, it's not for the United Kingdom, above all it's not for the United Kingdom to come in and try and tell the different Cypriot communities how they should find those compromises. If this process is to work, it has got to be something that Cypriots are seen to lead and are seen to own, not something that is imposed upon Cypriots from the outside. But we are doing everything we can to support the leaders of the two communities and their negotiators, and to support Espen Eide in his work on behalf of the UN Secretary General. And I hope that it will not be long before we can have a meeting such as this, where we can celebrate the successful outcome of those talks and the reunification of Cyprus. I want to say, finally, a brief word about the bilateral relationship between the United Kingdom and Cyprus. I don't think it's any secret that I would have wished for a different outcome to the referendum, but the result was clear, and the turnout was high, and the result has to be respected. And what we have to do now is to work for the best possible new relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union, and at the same time work to enrich further the bilateral relationship which we have with our friends and allies such as Cyprus. That is a message that Philip Hammond has already made very clear to Grand leaders when they have met. Cyprus will remain a fellow member of the Commonwealth. We have an increasingly trusting relationship with Cyprus on issues to do with security and defence, because the two of us face a common threat from international terrorism and from organised crime and from political extremism. And we need to work together to overcome those challenges. So one thing I have learned in my 6 years as Europe Minister has been of the richness of that bilateral relationship between the United Kingdom and Cyprus. And the High Commissioner in particular has Cyprus and the United Kingdom too is going to grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
Bilateral relationship, okay. As friends now, also in the European Union, but also in the Commonwealth. The bilateral level is highly important because, as the Minister said, we increasingly find ourselves in the same strategic boat. The relationship is not just about the Cyprus question. The relationship is not more automatic. We have moved on a number of issues, and Cyprus being a credible, dependable, security producer partner for Western security for the United Kingdom, because we're joining the hip when it comes to these issues. A lot also has been said about the Cyprus question, and I too would like us, all of us, to move forward on these issues, because as the President has expressed on a number of occasions, hopefully by the end of 2016, we will all of us be facing a new situation with a solution, so at long last the country will be unified, foreign troops of occupation will withdraw, and we will have a country that is truly for all Cypriots without any occupation troops. You all know the general settlement will be based on a bi-zonal, bi-communal federation, on the high-level agreements of the United Nations resolutions. Substantial progress has been achieved between the President and the Turkish Cypriot leader, Mr. Akinci, on chapters of governance, economy, European Union, property. However, fundamental differences do remain, as you also pointed out, Minister, and we are working on those, of course, to make things happen. Substantial discussions have yet to take place on the chapters of territory, security, and guarantees. We have yet to start discussing following issues which are fundamental: the timelines and verification of the withdrawal of the Turkish troops, timelines and implementation of the various elements of the Cyprus program, and establishing safeguards for the smooth implementation of the settlement itself. Day one of the settlement, how it will look like, drafting the federal laws and legislation, drafting federal constitution, the federal executive, the IMF and the World Bank are still need time to complete their technical assessments and studies with regards to the financial viability of the settlement. In 8 June 2016, the President of the Republic of Cyprus and of course the Cyprus Turkish leader, a very, very good man, I have only but praise for him. They are trying to intensify the negotiations process by holding meetings twice a week, and in order to address issues that have not been addressed on territory, security, closing the chapters on governance, economy, European Union, and property. We remain hopeful that 2016 will be the year, but we're not there till we are there. Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, and of course I'm not saying anything grand and anything big if I say that the key to the external aspect of the Cyprus question. Internally things are moving forward, but the external aspects, which is invasion, occupation, violation of human rights, all these things have to be done by our friends in Ankara, by Mr. Erdogan. And I speak with huge respect of a leader of any country, especially Turkey, knowing very well that our geography is our destiny, but at the same time, Mr. Erdogan, with due respect, has proven to be unpredictable. And we want to see things to go forward. He's resetting foreign policy vis-à-vis Russia, vis-à-vis Israel, United Arab Emirates. One hopes, as Christos has said, that he will also reset the baton on Cyprus to make the necessary concessions in order to have a viable settlement for all Cypriots, which will be a win-win for all. First and foremost for the people themselves, and then of course for regional peace and stability, because we truly have so many serious issues to grapple with. I know that I have been instructed by Christos to have a very, very short speech, knowing that a short speech moves the hearts, but a long speech moves chairs. So I think I close it, and I want to thank you also, Minister, and pay tribute to you for being a friend of Cyprus, for being who have done also so much work for the European Union. As you said, you know, the outcome is for the Brexit. I also want to pay tribute to all the members of Parliament here on this table, Sir Roger Gale and everyone here, for being all weather friends of Cyprus. Because, Minister, when the weather is fine, when the sun is out, When the birds are singing, you know what? There's lots of friends. But when the hail comes and when the thunder comes, you know what? Somehow they disappear. And on these dais, on this desk, and everyone that is here, they're true all-weather friends of Cyprus for democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. We want nothing more and nothing less. That is what given to other countries what is good for 27 members, 28 members, because the United Kingdom is still a member of the European Union. What is good for 27 members should certainly be good for the 20. Thank you very much. God bless, Godspeed, and all the health, happiness, prosperity, and every success future and one of you.
It's very difficult to follow two-class acts like that. I'm sorry that the Minister has gone, because I would like to pay tribute to the work that David Liddington has done as the Minister for Europe.
The longest serving ever.
He's the longest serving Minister in government at the moment, in one job. And he has worked overtime to try to bring about the resolution to the Cyprus. In tandem, of course, with Nikos Anastasiadis and with Mustafa Akinci, who, as His Excellency has said, are both very good men. I suppose the elephant in the room is still Ankara, because whatever agreements are reached on both sides of the Green Line in Nicosia, there's not going to be a full and final and fair settlement unless and until it's signed off by Ankara. But David Liddington said, and he is absolutely right to say, that fundamentally this has to be a Cypriot solution, not one that is imposed from outside by Turkey or the United Kingdom or the United States or anybody else, even the United Nations. Honest brokers can help to pull people together, and that has happened. Honest brokers can get people talking. Honest brokers can set down an agenda, and the items are being ticked off. It's getting harder, but the real issues are now being addressed. All that's fine, but it won't work unless and until President Erdogan agrees that it can happen. But I agree, and your friends on this platform I know agree, that while there's a long way to go yet, the circumstances are probably better now than they have ever been in the 33 years that I've been dealing with the Cyprus issue and the 42 years that there has been an illegal army of occupation in the northern part of your island. So, we will hang in there. We will do what we can to help. We don't regard this as a party political issue, by the way. My dear friend Alan Neil and I are absolutely as one from opposite sides of the House of Commons, where Cyprus is concerned. We regard this as an issue of fundamental rights, fundamental decency, fundamental fairness, and something that has to be done. And as I've said to you over and over again, and will say to you again now, we will stick with it for as long as it takes. Thank you.
I'm a lucky member of Parliament where we have the Greek Easter Vigil with the sedan chair and the children with the petals, giving the petals at the Mass, where we have St Barnabas Day, where we have the Cypriot Wine Festival at Alexandra Palace in my constituency. So I don't want to, put in the shade my colleagues in any way, shape or form, but I am the luckiest member of Parliament in Westminster. So I just want to put on record how pleased I am that the Minister is so optimistic, and also to thank David Liddington for all the work that he has done. When I first became a Member of Parliament 13 months ago, I thought he had the most difficult job in government, and I still think he does, and I feel a little sad for him this evening because many times in the Commons we had debates, and actually we were at one because we were very keen to keep Britain in the European Union. And that's why we've really had this emotional breakdown in the last few weeks because it was such a big debate, such a national upheaval. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to extend the hand of friendship to both sides, to everyone who is a Cypriot, both here and in Cyprus, and to say that we will support the process, we will support the Annan plan around territorial security and the guarantees which are needed. And whether that's holding these sorts of events or events at the wonderful Earlham Grove Community Centre, which Susie here heads up, if you ever fancy a game of chess and a real Greek coffee, go to the community centre and have a chat there. Polish up your Greek before you go on holidays, and whether it's there in the community, in the heart of the community in Wood Green, or whether it's here in Parliament, in discussions, encouraging the two sides, nurturing and seeing the birth of the one Cyprus. That's our vision. And we know we can get there, and we know that we have to do it for the younger generation. Because when I see those children every Easter, the girls with the petals and the boys trying to sing those difficult songs in Greek and pointing it out to me in Greek on the page, it's for them. Those children, those British Cypriots with their beautiful Greek, sometimes they reply to grandma in Greek, sometimes it's in English, but we want them to know that we're trying our very hardest for the future. And that's what it means to be a European, to remember our past, but also to look forward to the future. So, Ekdήλωση, πολλοί, thank you so much for having me this evening. And any time that we can do anything as a cross-party, in friendship, be it, sharing some olive oil at the Cypriot Wine Festival together, or anything else, we look forward very much to continuing in friendship. Thank you.
The sadness to be here, it always is. It's very bittersweet. As Cyprus is, in many ways, such a beautiful island, but so tragically scarred and divided. And it's the same spirit that we meet today to remember the 42nd anniversary of the division occupation and tragedy and human rights abuse and an intolerable abuse and the status quo which is unacceptable. And so it is in that spirit where we'd rather not be meeting under these circumstances, and we say similar things each year, but this year, all years, I do hope and expect and pray that we won't be back in the same situation again. We must do all we can to avoid the intolerable and not in any way get used to meeting together like this. We must not get used to that. And certainly it's our job in Parliament to make sure that ministers and others do not get used to that. So a few things. I look forward to, we've probably had enough of referendums, but I look forward to be able to have a referendum obviously on a just settlement, and one that I think should be extended indeed to the diaspora here for a referendum. You have every right to be involved in that. But I also want to just say briefly, because it's been touched upon, and it's an issue that I know is divided and has been something which has been the subject on the tables, on the cafes, on the airwaves, and the media within the community about Brexit. And given the decision that we made on Brexit, I was one of you campaigning vigorously for Brexit, I do actually see that we have an opportunity to make the very most of it. And the very most of it does indeed mean how well placed Britain and Cyprus are, which have relationships which are frankly much deeper and stronger than our European Union ties, which have been strong. But they are much deeper, and they're historically much wider and deeper and much more important. And it's something I've said to David Newton, who I have great respect for as Minister, but what you said to me repeatedly, why doesn't the government step up? Why don't we step up and do more? You said that to successive governments, why don't we do more? And indeed, as we move forward, we have to do that. And part of our negotiations is that we are going to step up as a country and as a government in terms of our foreign policy. And we won't be able to defer to European Union policy. And particularly when we're dealing with these important chapters, such important chapters that where the settlement will rise and fall on territorial security and guarantees. Those are the times when you will be calling, no doubt, on the British government to step up and show solidarity with you, and so solidarity with the human respect for human rights, or respect for also our long-standing historical ties. And those are times when we can't defer to the opinion, we can't defer to other, we need to step up as a government. And I'm looking forward to David, if he continues with the role, I look forward to continuing, certainly to the Prime Minister, making it absolutely clear that this is a real opportunity for the government to say again how totally committed it is to a united and just Cyprus. And I look forward also to the opportunities, given the ties and given that obviously the real home of Cypriots, in terms of the physical home, there may be a centre, there may be a palace to go to events, but in terms of numbers of people, knowing the Cypriots in my constituency, and the natural and the long-standing ties, the business relationships that are there, how well placed Cyprus is with Britain bilaterally to extend those relationships further and deeper, and to continue that for the very much for the long term. But it's important that you hold us to account. Each year you need to hold us to account. It isn't just about attending events, we do that. And also, I know all colleagues here are very actively involved in receiving the mayors, I know there's another mayors here as well from Cyprus, and also others that come over from Cyprus, and just showing that we are very much committed to strong relationships between Britain and Cyprus. But also, we give the minister as hard as time as we can, both privately, and we were willing to challenge him in Parliament. And we've done that cross-party. When I with other colleagues went to Cyprus, there were new friends as well who went to Michelle Rise on my left, and I know Caroline's also going to be going to Cyprus here next month. And it's important that we've been saying something, that we make sure that you don't just see some of the older faces, some of those people who have no excuse to be friends of Cyprus, anyway, myself. But we make sure more people, at these important times, that you, and I know you represent different members of Parliament as well, that you make sure that you take the opportunity to ensure this crucial time that more people are engaged. But when we have the opportunities, we did soon after returning from Cyprus, we passed a very important motion, which was very important, not just symbolic, but it was a unanimous motion in support of the return of family to its lawful inhabitants. And that's so important, and it makes an important case that we won't accept such a graphic and real visible example of the ignominy and the inhumanity. It's a case for, and what I would say, it's not just for Cyprus, it's not just for those MPs who are concerned about Cyprus, it's for all of us concerned about human rights and humanity, that we should be concerned about the solution for the Cyprus population and working hard for United Cyprus. And so, we will continue, and we will continue to do that. And we continue to do that because what I'm always reminded of, it's a very human issue and a human problem and a human tragedy. And I'm reminded of that on these slides.
To families and to, as kind of very rightly said, to future generations as well, that we solve this very human tragedy that should matter to us all when we're concerned about humanity, and we'll continue that fight for the days and weeks to come. Thank you.
And one of the things that I think made me realise exactly what had happened was when I visited Famagusta. Being a Cornish MP, I have beautiful beaches in my constituency. And to see the beach at Famagusta completely separated by a barbed wire barrier and part of the town completely cut off, and being watched while we went onto the beach by a soldier made me realise not only just how lucky I am, but how important it is that we in Parliament here actually help you and help your government to get a solution. And another really touching incident with regard to our visit was when we went to visit a cemetery. And there were two cemeteries, one on one side of the road and one on the other. The Turkish cemetery was very well kept and was beautiful. But I met some ladies who had family graves in the Greek portion, where the gravestones had been completely vandalized, and it was horrendous. And those ladies told me some very, very personal and deeply touching stories. And I came back to this Parliament determined that I was going to make sure I helped you to spread the word. And we certainly did have that debate just after we came back. And I have to say to you, as somebody who doesn't have Cyprus connections, a Cornish girl, I am 100% behind you, and I will do whatever I can to help David and others to make sure that you get the result that you so deserve. Thank you very much.
People who've actually been to Cyprus and those who are going to boast far more extensive connections to Cyprus than my constituency has. But the thing I'm very conscious of is that Cyprus is represented in every part of the UK. I know that in Southampton, I'm one of the MPs for Southampton, that 1/3 of my councillors in the Southampton part of my constituency are Cypriot. And I'm very proud of them, and they work incredibly hard. They also work incredibly hard to make sure that I understand the issues to the extent that they are ensuring that I go to Cyprus this summer. Now, this is a personal visit. I make no bones about that. I'm going to celebrate a wedding, the first Greek wedding I've ever been to. I'm very excited. But it would be very remiss of me not to seize that opportunity to visit some of the important sites and look at the impact that this partition has had on what I understand from everybody is a very beautiful island. We have been described this evening as the all-weather friends of Cyprus. Please be assured you don't get this colour by accident. I will be very disappointed if Cyprus is not sunny in August. It had better be. But I'm conscious that I have an opportunity to go and learn more, and I know that I have spoken to this audience before, and I know that I have made commitments to visit the island. Finally, I shall go. But I think it is incumbent upon all of us. David used the phrase that there is more chance of an enduring settlement now than ever before. And I think we absolutely have to seize that opportunity. I'm always struck that it's been an illegal occupation since I was 2 years old. That really seems to bring it home to me. My entire lifetime, almost, there has been this partition, the only divided state in Europe, and certainly alongside all of my colleagues, that is always brought home to me. I'm conscious, and Catherine alluded to this, we sit here in Westminster Hall, where I sometimes think the best work of Parliament goes on. What you see at Prime Minister's questions in the Chamber is always very antagonistic, very divisive, very confrontational, but here we do good work. We find cross-party agreement and we find consensus. And it's certainly incumbent upon all of us to find that also for Cyprus.
Don't know me, and I represent Edmonton. Oh. I grew up in Haringey, so I remember in the 70s when there was lots of people that came from Cyprus, and I grew up with Cypriots, very, very close to my heart. And I'm very proud now to be representing Edmonton, which is right next door to Haringey. So I hope all of you will know that any negotiations, any discussions about the suffering that people went through in those times, it's very close to me. And I want to be part of that. And I'm very proud to be sitting here with my colleagues. I'm very proud that it's cross-party as well, because at the end of the day, this isn't about party political. It's about how people feel, what people went through. And we must never forget that. So, again, apologies for my late arrival, but I represent Edmonton. Edmonton is very dear to me. And I hope if there's anyone in here that is from Edmonton that doesn't know me, now you do know me. And I'm here not only as a friend, but as a daughter of Haringey, which is right next door. So thank you so much.
He was a tremendous individual, and he's somebody, those in the Cypriot movement who fought for freedom and justice for Cyprus well remember and try to live up to his reputation. So, it's a great loss for that. The second person I want to mention is another member of Parliament for many years, far longer than me, who showed me the way, brought me into the Cyprus course. He's sitting at the back of the room, actually, as he's been doing ever since he retired. But his contribution to the way forward to find a solution for the Cyprus problem, Tom Cox, shouldn't be underestimated. And the next person I just want to pay brief comment on is the Mayor of Labitos, who's here tonight. When I first came into this building as a member, I was contacted by various people to go and do a meeting in Cyprus, and it was about Labitos. I'd never heard of Labitos, but I went and did my research into it, and George Paraskivaidis actually asked me if I would fly out to Cyprus and speak at a meeting in the theatre in Nicosia, and I learned a lot about it before and since. I learned that probably one of the most important things for the Turkish invasion wasn't, as people thought, the invasion of Kyrene, where the ships went in and loaded the troops, albeit they came from the sea in vehicles. It was rather the plains of Labitos, which contained the largest aquifer in the whole of that part of the world. And whatever troops need more than food and ammunition is water. And that was the successful gain that they got out of the Labitos area. And the price paid by the people of Labitos is that whenever negotiations go on about freedom of the island, Labitos somehow is always deleted from the equation. So we must all, when we're thinking about a solution for Cyprus, we call that, we shouldn't do it in bits. Remember Labitos, because that's the last place they'll leave from. I think we should pay particular tribute also to our colleague from Edmonton, because she's been involved today on trying to get white smoke out of the chimney. Has been very, very busy today, and like Rome when they choose a new pope, she's been involved in a national executive meeting all day. And similarly, all the Conservative members who have been here tonight are waiting for white smoke, not from number 10, that's already been agreed, but white smoke and telephone calls to ask if they'll pop up there to talk about some other role in the next few days. So it's been a very, very busy time, and all parliamentarians are engaged. So there's a lot of people who haven't been able to come here tonight, but they're engaged in a lot of other activities, which keeps them busy at the present time. The other thing I just want to say at the start is that before we proceed on talking about all the talks and the various chapters of those talks which are taking place between the parties in New York and in Cyprus at the present time, you understand the various presidents or representative and president of the two areas meet every Friday for lunch and discuss various matters before they discuss chapters. But I really want to put a marker down because I want to try and give them a little message. It's been a message that's been said for the last 42 years, over and over and over again. Unless there is a solution, to find out a solution to the problem of the missing, what happened to them, where they are, what happened to their remains, and so on, there can never be any just settlement for Cyprus. There can be no agreement without that. And David Lidington is right. And by the way, I agree with others that have commented here as his performance as a European minister for the Crown in this place. He's the best one we've had for a very long time, and that includes the Labour ones that's been there. On the issue of Cyprus, he's been absolutely, truly magnificent, and he's tried the best for us throughout his time. And that's something for me to say, I can tell you that. I say it with a large lump in my throat, but it's true. Now, he commented there about we're on the brink of a historic opportunity with Cyprus. I hope he's right. I hope he's right indeed. But you see, in the 29 years I've been involved in this issue, nearly 30 years, that I've been through all the various new opportunities and fresh opportunities and solutions on the brink of the horizon and all the rest of it. I remember when we went through the torture of those years, before we had a different approach on Cyprus, and we got to the issue of, in the time of the Labour government. And I can remember being part of the leadership team in this place, running the office of the Deputy Prime Minister, and taking the call with Blair and Prescott and Robin Cook, where the President of the United States, Clinton, phoned up and said to us, please, please, please enter into this trade agreement to give a shelf, a new opening for Turkey into the European Union with their trade, and this will forge a relationship to a new solution on Cyprus. It never happened. They got the trade, they got the counter, they got the opportunity, but no solution has since been found. I remember when Robin Cook was the Foreign Secretary, where we forced a situation where we're told that under no circumstance had we to lay down any kinds of rules. We'd said that Cyprus couldn't enter the European Union. It couldn't do that. And the rest of Europe at that time was saying that Turkey, not a member of the European Union, should have a veto on whether Cyprus was allowed to join the European community. And thank God, Robin Cook didn't stand aside and he said there can be no veto. Cyprus is going to enter the European community as a full and active member. And we got it through. Indeed, I know we got it through under those terms because at the time I was a minister, and I was the minister not because I was the perfect person to do that, but I was on the rota to do the next job, to go and sign a foreign agreement. It was the European ministers' meeting in Helsinki, and I went up there and I signed the form. It became known as the Helsinki Accord to a Labour government. So I know the circumstances we went forward, and nothing changed. I remember John Prescott's forays into try and find a solution, time and time again, for Cyprus, saying it was all wrong what was occurring. He even at one point refused to cross the line in Nicosia to meet the then acting chief representative for the Turkish Cypriot community in Cyprus, and he said he had to meet him at the Lydra Palace Hotel instead. I remember all of those times. And yet there's been no solution. And yet, you know, Britain has a great responsibility to Cyprus. It has a great responsibility, not least because when it allowed the Cyprus Act to come through this place, it wasn't a one-way ticket to say you can have independence and we're going off. It already also entered into a special relationship with the island. To give independence, yes, but to be allowed parts of that country, to be allowed to be retained by the British for military and telecommunication purposes. Now, if anybody says that's a hindrance to Britain, they actually don't understand international relationships. Cyprus is a key component, being described as the Tower of Europe for as long as, you know, history, modern history prevails. And the situation, as well as having our special basis there, which contains an airport on its own, fully occupied airport, which serves our troops both in the past in Afghanistan and Iraq, but also still other forays to elsewhere in Europe, both to bomb and also to bring special forces back. Not only that, when those special forces do come back, when they're injured, sometimes horrifically, they're treated in Cyprus by Cypriot surgeons and consultants, and they're kept there until they're fully fit to return to these shores. That is a debt which is incalculable. You know, that's the reality of the contribution that they make. But it's much more than that. They have 60,000 expats in Cyprus living happily there as members of the Cypriot communities in that area. Also, you know, they have in Britain 300,000 refugee citizens, men and women who are refugees and have children which have grown up and now fully fledged British citizens, but are the children of refugees and are Cypriot. We shouldn't deny that. So they have a responsibility to that community in this Britain, which is substantial. And they have to live up to the reputation to do all of that. So he's right that we are on the brink, perhaps, of a new historic opportunity. It's being said that we might be able to achieve something this time round, but until the decision is taken, the agreement is reached, we all have to bear ourselves together and understand that it may not happen. It may not happen. But I say this, it will come. It will come because it's a just solution. And when it comes, it will happen so fast we'll all begin to wonder why it took so long. because just solutions are just like that. You don't see anywhere forward, then a set of circumstances apply and it happens all of a sudden and overnight. I am positive of the belief that Cyprus, which is now out of the partnership, going to become the only member of Europe, not us. I campaigned for years to get Cyprus to be a fully fledged member of the European Union. They now have to work for us and help us to move forward. Now, I don't apologise for being a European. I'm a good European. I didn't bet Brexit or anything else. But I'll help this man and all of his colleagues who did, because it's the way forward to find a solution. A solution that will enable the Cypriot people at home and abroad to claim their just rights to the property which is being stolen from them by illegal invasion, to find out the whereabouts of the happening of the missing people of Cyprus, to get free movement of the whole of the island, north and south, and to build a new community for Europe and with friendship for the UK. I believe that's going to happen, and the sooner it happens, the better. Thanks very much.